So, red, green, and then the exciting multicolored, and then I guess we get to check out artifacts, although I never really care too much for artifacts, but who knows, maybe there'll be a bunch of sweet starships or spaceships in there. Anyway, let's see what red's doing, apart from 4 damage to a creature for 3. I mean, it's instant speed, so it's probably fine. Like this is probably just fine. I'm not too excited to put it. I mean, it's removal, so you probably just take it in limited, but you know, it's not the most exciting thing in the world. Cut propulsion. 3 mana, instant. Target creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. If that creature has flying, it deals twice that much damage to itself instead. Okay. Good way to kill something. This is probably better, actually. This is probably better removal. Because generally, this is just going to cause things to kill themselves. And it, like, the huge black starship we were looking at, it would absolutely kill itself because it has Death Touch. So, yeah. This is actually pretty good removal, I think. Okay. Debris Field Crusher. 5 mana, when it enters, deals 3 damage to any target. I mean, sure. It's 5 mana for 3 damage, which is a bit much, but I mean, still damage in limited, so you can probably put it somewhere and it'll be good. And then if you can get it to 8, it is a flying 1/5 that has no, it has fire breathing. Yeah, well, slightly more expensive fire breathing, but it does give +2 instead of +1. So yeah, fire breathing. Sure. I mean, this is fine. It's not incredible. It's 5 mana for 3 damage originally, but if you're in limited and the board's locked up, you probably are killing at least 1 guy with it, or you probably are killing 1 guy with this. And then if you can stack it up to being big enough, it's just a big flyer that can do damage if you want to put a bunch of mana into it. It's okay. It's not. I'm not particularly excited by this card, but it's not the worst card we've seen so far. That's going to go to that black card, I imagine, for the entire thing. Devastating Onslaught. 1 double X. What the fuck is red doing today? Create X tokens that are copies of target artifact or creature you control. Those tokens gain haste until end of turn. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. Right. I mean, this is probably just killing someone, but it does cost a lot, right? So it's 3 is 1, 5 is 2, 7 is 3, 9 is 4. So it's every odd number is an increase in the number of tokens. Like, I think if you do this for like 2 or 3, you probably are doing it as lethal. The only issue is, like, if you target a creature with this and your opponent just blows the creature up, you are just miserable. But if you get this off and X is like 3 or 4, your opponent probably just dies because you just make like 4 copies of your biggest dude and then just pile drive them. Like, this has got to be at least decent, right? I don't know. It's so difficult because I think this is kind of like Overrun. You kind of use this as an overrun, right? You kind of just use this to make multiple copies of your biggest guy and hope that that wins you the game. Because I think doing anything else with this, I don't know if you're realistically going to have the chance to build a deck that makes this any better, but sure. Drill Too Deep. 2 mana for an instant. Put 5 charge counters on target spacecraft or planet you control. Or destroy target artifact. Have we seen planets? Are planets lands? Planets might be lands. Okay, we'll have to wait until we see the lands. I mean, that's okay. Supercharging. I can now see why these aren't... The spacecrafts in red aren't particularly good. Because if red has ways to put extra charge counters on spacecrafts, you don't want them getting their spacecrafts online too quickly. Again, this very much depends. If you are doing a spacecraft like deck, you're probably going to want as many of these as you can get. If you don't, this is going to be kind of terrible for you. I don't know what the planets do either, so I can't really speak to the planets. We will see those at the end, but sure. Frontline War Rager is a 3-mana 2/3 at the beginning of your end step. If you control 2 or more creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Oh, red-white doing the 2-tapped creatures, I guess. I suppose that would make sense. That's going to be an aggressive form, I imagine. Sure, this guy gets slowly bigger. That's probably good enough in limited, I imagine. Full bore! 1-mana instant. Type creature you control gets +3/+2 until end of turn. If that creature was cast for its warp cost, it also gains trample and haste until end of turn. Okay, warping a guy, make him huge, bam. Sure. Just a combat trick, or just a way to make your warp creature get in there quick. We haven't seen any red warp creatures yet, so I don't know. Maybe there's one that, like, when this deals damage, does something, and then you're going to want full bore with it. So, we'll see. Galvanizing Sawship. 6 mana to do nothing. But, if you put 3 counters on it, it is a 6/5 flyer with haste. So if you have a creature with power 3 on the battlefield, you tap 6 to play this, tap the creature, this just gets in for 6. Okay, that's actually pretty good. I think you need to have a creature for this to be useful, probably. But just because it doesn't do anything for 6 mana. But I think for 6, it's essentially like a vehicle with haste. It's like it is a vehicle with haste that kind of stays. This might be pretty good, actually. Just turn any 3-power creature into a 6/5 with haste permanently. This I might actually have been lying about. This might actually be good. It'll just cost 6, so maybe not. Maybe it is just too expensive. I think it might be too expensive. Well, because, like, turn 6, you could just be killing someone with this, right? I don't know. Again, I'd have to play with this to really know if it's absolutely nuts or if it's just crap. Invasive Maneuvers instead of evasive maneuvers. Fair enough. 2-mana instant, deals 3 damage to a creature. It deals 5 damage if you control a spacecraft. This is good. This is, like, standard price for removal. I mean, it can only do it to... it's not as good as Lightning Bolt, because it only does it to creature, not to any target, but, like... Good. Yeah, this is good removal. I'd take this. Cav Landseeker. A 4-mana 4/3 with Menace. When this creature enters, create a lander token. At the beginning of the end step on your turn, sacrifice that token. Okay, and gets you more lands. I don't mind that. That's pretty good. Yeah. Red ramp. Interesting. So yeah, I think this guy's fine. Cavaron Harrier is a 1-mana 2/1. When this creature attacks, you may pay 2. If you do, create a 2/2 token that's tapped and attacking. Sacrifice that token at the end of combat. Yeah, this is pretty good as well. Because a lot of the artifact cards care about artifacts entering, and this just makes sure you can always make an artifact for 2 mana. So, yeah, this is good. I like this. This is probably really good for the artifact. Like, if red-blue is the colours doing artifact, you probably want this, definitely. Cavaron Skywarden. 5 mana, 4/5 with Reach, and Void at the beginning of end step. If you did the Void things, this grows. Again, probably very good as just a card to have on the field if you're triggering Void a lot. Kind of expensive, but it does grow, and it could become an issue. That's probably just good enough for limited, I imagine. Caveron Turbo Drone. 3 mana, 2/3 that can tap. Type creature you control gets +1/+1 haste until end of turn. Okay, this is actually. I mean, it gives +1/+1, so this is probably better than the other haste givers. Because it makes the creature bigger as well. But I don't know what we're going to be hasting in at this point. I haven't seen anything that's like really blowing my mind if we give it haste. Lithu Breaking. 3 mana. Instant, create a lander token, then you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, this deals 2 damage to each creature. Oh wait, doesn't this guy... Oh, so because this guy destroys the lander token at the end of turn, if you don't sacrifice it before he triggers, you don't get the effect. Same here. If you cast this, create the lander token, and then sacrifice it to deal 2 damage to everything, you don't get the effect. I missed that, because I'm an idiot. But I've remembered it now. I mean, this is fine. 2 damage to everything might be useful. You might need it, especially with all those these 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature tokens. So maybe you run this. I don't think I would, but maybe you do. Melded Moxite. 2 mana artifact. When it enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw 2. Sure. And you can sacrifice it and create a 2/2. Sure. A very standard fine red card. Memorial Team Leader. A 4 mana 4/3 during your turn. Other creatures get +1/+0. And you can warp it. That's pretty good if you're being aggressive. You can just warp this in cheap, get a bunch of extra damage. Kind of like mini overrun, right? If you warp it in. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. Memorial Vault. 4 mana for an artifact. You can sacrifice another artifact. Exile the top X cards of your library, where X is 1+ the mana value of the sacrificed artifact. You may play those cards this turn. I mean, this is probably good if you need like to. Again, this always strikes me as in limited completely worthless, but maybe it's good because you can just sacrifice tokens as extra draws. But or not extra draws, just extra cards you can play in a turn. But like, I don't know. I think in limited this is just kind of going to be crap. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Molecular Modifier. A 3 mana 2/2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. Sure. His first strike's a great keyword. It's usually better on the block, but it's going to be really annoying to deal with on the attack as well. Sure. He can even give it to himself, so he's actually a 3 mana 3/2 with first strike. But he can give it to other things before he can attack. Yeah, this guy's got to be good, right? If you're in an aggressive deck, 100%. Nebula Dragon. Jesus. A 7 mana 4/4 flyer, and when it enters, deals 3 damage to any target. Sure. I mean, it's very expensive. 7 mana for a 4/4 flyer when like 90% of this set has flyers in it. Because like all the spacecrafts are flyers and bigger than this. But not all of them. Most of them. Sure. I mean, this is probably still fine, right? I think it's too expensive, but you probably just play this and it picks off a creep. Nah, this is probably too expensive. I think this might just be too expensive. Nova Hellkite. Like, look at this. This is a 5 mana and it kills this thing. It is rare, I suppose, but still. 5 mana, 4/5 flying haste. When this creature enters, deals 1 damage to target creature an opponent controls. Sure. And you can warp it. Fine. I mean, the 1 damage to target creature an opponent controls is like maybe you kill one thing, but it's a 5 mana 4/5 flyer with haste, so you probably don't care. Also, it can attack when it gets warped, right? Because it has haste. So it is turn 3, 4 damage probably to your opponent's face and ping a dude, which might kill them. And then 5 mana, you get to bring it back and do more damage. This is probably really good, actually. I'm probably undervaluing the haste. I don't think I'm undervaluing the 1 ping. I feel like ping for 1 is not as exciting as you might think it is, but we'll see. Orbital Plunge. 4 mana sorcery, deals 6 damage to target creature. If excess damage was dealt this way, create a land token. I don't mind this. I think this is pretty good. 6 damage is probably going to kill everything pre-turn 4. With excess damage, so you're going to get the land token out of it. Yeah, I don't hate this. This is sort of fine. Or Plate Pangolin. 2 mana. Whenever another artifact you control enters, you may pay 1. If you do, this guy grows. Sure, he's not great, but if you're in the artifact deck, maybe you just need a guy that gets big. Pain for All. God damn. 3 mana, enchant creature. When it enters, enchanted creature deals damage equal to its power to any other target. And whenever enchanted creature is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to each opponent. Okay. My main problem with this is removal exists. So if you cast this on a card and your opponent just removes it, it's just 3 mana, get sad. But if your opponent doesn't remove it, this is 3 mana, kill something, and then you have a card that a creature that your opponent really doesn't want to block unless he's killing it because it's going to hurt him. Which, in red, is probably just good enough. But again, because it's an enchantment, it doesn't have flash, it doesn't have protection on it or anything. It is just, I target this, please don't do anything to it. And if your opponent does anything to it, it's really useless. Meh. Plasma Bolt. 1 mana, 2 damage. Yeah, that seems about right. Plasma Bolt deals 3 damage if you have done void stuff. Sure. Sorcery speed, 1 mana, 3 damage. Okay. It's no whatever. What was the original 1 mana, 3 damage? Bolt? Instead of lightning strike, it's just lightning bolt, right? So it's no bolt, but I mean, even close to bolt is good. You have to be playing, some way to trigger this without spending mana, though. So you probably have to be in like the sacrifice deck for this to be good. But yeah, I mean, 1 mana, 3 damage is still good. Possibility Technician. 3 mana, 3/3. When this creature or another Kavu you control enters, exile the top card of your library. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may play it if you control a Kavu. Yeah, a nice way to get an early extra card that you can play, assuming you're playing Kavus. Because there's been a bunch of them, right? That's not just been the only one. Yeah, Kavu, 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 Kavu. Yeah, there's a whole fucking bunch of them. There's a whole bunch. So, yeah. As long as you control a Kavu, which you are probably going to do because there's a lot of Kavus in red, you get an extra card. Cool. For 2 mana. And then for 3 mana, he does it again and sticks around. So whenever you play a Carvu, you get to do it again. Just good card advantage, I think. I think this is a very nice card to have in red if you've got Carvus. We haven't seen any really good Carvus apart from, I guess, this one. But yeah, if Carvus are a good archetype, then this is a good card for that. Red Tiger Mechan. Cool. Is a 4 mana 3/3 with haste, or 2. So it's 2 mana 3 damage because it has haste, so it can attack when you warp it. Sure. But red might have with these haste warp creatures. Red might kill you real fucking fast. But yeah, okay. This is just kind of like a hasty beer, sure. Nothing too exciting, but the warp on it's cool. Remnant Elemental, a 2 mana 0/4 with reach, and whenever a land you control enters, it's a 2/4. Sure. I mean, it's cheap, it's thick, so it blocks well, but unless you have sack lands, you're not going to be able to trigger this landfall, you know, on any turn apart from your own, realistically. So, actually, no, because they have the lander tokens, don't they? Which lander tokens you can sack whenever, right? Where's the lander token? Yeah, you can sack whenever. So maybe this is better than I'm giving it credit for, especially if you're doing lander token things, because you can just sacrifice the lander tokens and just turn this into whatever you need it for on the block. Okay, don't hate it. Rig for War. 2 mana instant, +3/+0 and first strike. And reach. So we've seen this card printed a million times. First of all, it was +3/+0, then it was +3/+0 and first strike, now it's +3/+0 and reach. Sorry. First of all, it was +3/+0, then it was +3/+0 and first strike, now it's +3/+0 first strike and reach. They're just going to keep tagging on extra keywords until they run out, I guess. But yeah, so we've seen this. This is a fine combat trick. Again, I'm not a big combat trick fan, because if your opponent has removal, they just remove the creature and then you get sad, but sure. Roving Actuator. 4 mana for a 3/4 with Void. When it enters, if you did the Void things, exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard. Copy it, you may cast the copy. Fine. What cards would that be good with? Plasma Bolt, that's good with. Invasive Maneuvers, that's good with. Full Bore, maybe. Drill Too Deep if you're trying to do the spaceship thing. Well, we haven't really seen any spaceships yet, right? Like, the only spaceship we saw was, I suppose, Galvanizing Source Ship. And the other first one that had fire breathing, which was kind of ass. We haven't seen that rare one yet, though. We'll have to see what the rare starship is. This is fine. It's very generically fine. I mean, a lot of the Void stuff is in black, so you'd probably also have access to the black instant or sorcery spells, which is more removal, probably. So maybe this is better than it appears, but, like, meh. Ruinous Rampage. 3 mana, deal 3 damage to each opponent, or exile all artifacts with mana value 3 or less. Meh, again. Like, 3 damage to each opponent, unless it's the last 3 damage, unless it's the last 3 health, you don't give a fuck about. And exile all artifacts with mana value 3 or less. Sure, you can get rid of all of the lander tokens and some other stuff, but, like, I don't know how much that's going to matter. A lot of those ships... no, it does hit some of them. It hits the white one. Maybe it's not terrible. I don't know. I'd have to see what it hits. Because a lot of the spaceships are quite expensive and do stuff when they enter, so I don't know. Rust Harvester, a 1 mana 1/1 with Menace. Exile an artifact card from your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and it deals damage equal to its power to any target. This could be really good. I mean, it has to go... It's got no protection itself, so it has to go, like... Your opponent essentially has to have no removal from the turn you play this. But, yeah, you could just eat your own graveyard and make this guy thick and pick off creatures and or your opponent's face. So this is cool, but I don't know if it's actually that good, because like you probably don't want to play this turn 1, right? Because if it just gets picked off, you're sad. But like, at what turn do you play it? Because you have to tap it to do its effect. So like, I don't know. If your opponent has removal, every piece of removal hits this because it's only got 1 health. Like, that's... yeah. It's a good card, but I feel like in a limited format, it just falls flat on its face. Slag Drill Scrapper. 1 mana for a 1/2 with tap 2, sacrifice another artifact or land, draw a card. These are actually pretty good in limited, because once you've got to like 7 lands, maybe 6, 7 lands, you've probably got all the lands you possibly need. So this just turns any land draw into draw more cards, which is really good. So yeah, these are probably better than they appear. It looks like a 1 mana 1/2 that doesn't do anything, but I think the fact that you can eat lands to draw cards makes this better. System Override, gain control. Okay, we have seen this before. This is your gain control of something. Gain control of target artifact, untap it, gains haste. If it's a spacecraft, put 10 charge counters on it, then remove 10. Sure, so this is, I take your thing, and it is a creature pretty much regardless, right? Because a lot of the spacecraft, I mean, some of the spacecrafts have got like 12 or like 13 or like 14 on them that need to trigger, but like this does most of that anyway. Yeah, I mean, red always gets a steal effect, right? A mind control effect, or take your guy for a turn, punch you with them. This is just another one in a long list, so 4. Tanuk Steadfast Second, a 4 mana 3/5. Other creatures you control have haste. Artifact cards and red creature cards in your hand have warp 3. Game winning. Right? This is just crazy. Everything has haste, so the warp card creatures get to attack. Everything has warp. So, well, red creatures, but that artifacts and red creatures just essentially means that you need to play 2-color. Like, if you're playing a 2-color deck, every card needs to be either like a gold card with red in it, or just like mono red. This is cracked. This has to be cracked. Other creatures have other creatures you control have haste, and you can... yeah, this is cracked. This has to be cracked. This is going to be cracked in... it is 4 mana, so maybe not cracked in standard, but like probably commander. This is cracked, right? Like, if this is your commander and you're playing mono red, you just play all of the biggest mono red things and then just warp them all in for 3 and just beat the shit out of people with giant red monsters. Because there's some really expensive red creatures, right? Like some huge red creatures. And you can just haste them in, you can just warp them in for 3. Yeah, this just bonkers. Has to be bonkers. I don't know how good it's going to be in the limited. I mean, it's still going to be good in limited, but this is just going to be bonkers in other things. Terminal Velocity. 6 mana, sorcery. You may put an artifact or creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Right. That permanent gains haste, and when this permanent leaves the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its mana value to each creature. And at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice this permanent. Right, so this just turns any creature or artifact in your hand into a fucking bomb. 6 mana, throw the grenade, watch. Right? Like, okay, sure. So you terminal velocity, put your biggest creature or artifact from your hand onto the battlefield, give it haste, swing with everything, and then either it gets blocked and blows up anyway, or it doesn't get blocked at the beginning of your end step, just blows up. Right? Like, it just... Okay. This is I don't have the weaponry, I have the mass. This is the Halo 2, or was it in Reach? Might not have the firepower, but I have the mass when he flies the pelican into the scarab. Oh, yeah. This is fuck it. We're going in, boys. I like this card. It does a lot, but it is quite funny. Just turn your biggest thing into a grenade. Oh, this is proper. We're going in, boys. Energy, and just play this card. It doesn't matter. You just throw something. Again, in Magic, it's slightly different because you're not just like the card you sacrifice. You could always bring back later because you're playing. You could combine this with black or whatever. It's reanimated. Doesn't matter. But like, it is absolutely that energy, and I love it. Terra Pact Intimidator. 2 mana, 2/1. When it enters, target opponent may have you create 2 lander tokens. If they don't, you put 2+1/+1 counters on this creature. So it's a 2 mana 4/3, or a 2 mana I get to ramp twice. That's pretty good. I like this guy. Yeah, I'd play at least a copy of him, if not 2. Territorial Bruntar. Okay. A 6 mana 6/6 with reach and landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, exile card from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card this turn. This is a good card, especially with all of these lander tokens. Yeah, this is a good card. Very good card, I think. I mean, you have to get to 6, but yeah. Okay. Vault Guard Trooper. 5 mana for a 5/5. At the beginning of your end step, you control 2 or more tapped creatures. You may discard your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. This is... So, if red and white is doing the whole aggressive thing, this is kind of like your top end, right? You just play this on 5. You have no cards left in hand. You swing. Discard your nothing. Draw 2 cards. Next turn, draw an extra card. You've got 3. Vomit them out. Swing. Discard your nothing, or maybe your 1 card if you drew like 2 lands or something. Get your 2 cards. This is good, especially because it's at the beginning of your end step. So you can do your whole turn, like swing with everything, and then in your second main phase, play this, and your opponent has to deal with it immediately, or you get the draw. This is pretty good, I think. I think that's definitely pretty good. Warmaker Gunship. Here's the rare. 3 mana for when it enters, it deals damage equal to the number of artifacts you control to target creature and opponent controls. Okay, so it's pretty much going to be removal as long as you've got the artifacts for it. And then at 6, you can turn it into a 4/3 flyer. That's kind of ass. That's the worst one we've seen. I guess because red has ways to put charge counters on, so giving them like a really crazy effect, they would just reach. But bro, that sucks ass. I mean, it's 3 mana removal technically, but like compared to the other ones, that sucks ass. Yeah, this is. I'm not impressed with that. That's a 3 mana eventual 4/3 flyer, sure. maybe that's just fast enough, right? Maybe this just like removes a creature, gets you in some extra free attackers, and then you just make it a 4/3 flyer and start getting in the air. Maybe that's all you need, but like compared to the other crazy rare spacecrafts we saw, this is just very underwhelming. Weapons manufacturing. 2-mana enchantment. Whenever a non-token artifact you control enters, create a colorless artifact token named Munitions. When this token leaves the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target. Okay, and then you can sacrifice them. This is probably pretty good. Like, if you're playing this in an artifact deck and you just play artifacts and this vomits out munitions and then you can sacrifice all those artifacts to, like, just ping stuff like crazy. Yeah, this is really good, I imagine. Especially because this comes down early, so you can, like, stack them up and then just sacrifice them as you need them to, like, ping things off. This is a good card. This has to be good. Having unlimited, like, as long as you have a way to sacrifice them, essentially endless free shocks is just crazy. Weft Stalker Ardent. 3-mana, 2/3. Whenever another creature or artifact you control enters, 1 damage to each opponent, warp 1. Short. Short. Very standard card we've seen from Red a couple of times before. Zookeeper Mechan. 2 mana for a 1/3 that you can tap to add red. Okay. And for 7, target creature you control gets +4/+0 until end of turn. Sure. I mean, having a red ramping guy that's a red mana nerd is interesting, especially because it's not limited to anything. It's just tap, add 1. But red has had that effect before a few times, so yeah, I don't hate him. I think it's pretty good. We're on to green! Okay. So what did I think of red? Honestly, I think red's the support, apart from these Carvus. The Carvus seem to be like their own contained little thing. And this guy's fucking cracked out of his ass. But the Carvus seem to be their own contained thing. But apart from that, it feels like red is the support color for a couple of other mechanics. Like, they have their own landfall with this whole lander thing, which I like. I like these lander tokens. That's very cool. But a lot of their stuff is kind of like the artifact stuff feels like it's probably helping fuel the sacrifice stuff for black a lot, or the making robot artifact creature tokens in blue, and in white they have the like you get all your creatures get +1/+1s and all this sort of stuff for attacking, and in this you had like this guy gets bigger and something else. Can't remember. Like, it's probably pretty good for aggro. It's like supporting a bunch of aggro-y styles, right? Because it's doing the attack with the tapped 2 or more creatures in red-white. It's doing artifact creatures in red-blue, and it's doing sacrifice in red-black. And it's also doing a bunch of warp stuff, which helps the void sacrifice sort of thing. Like, it's actually, I think red might be the supporting color. But I think there's some interesting. I think their spaceships are a bit disappointing. Like, what was their spaceships? The 1/5 with fire breathing, the 6/5 that while it comes in and cracks you for 6 does cost 6, and then this thing that is essentially removal stapled to a flyer eventually, which, I don't know. I feel like there are dragons that do more than this, right? Or dragons that probably do this and don't take a couple of turns to get flying. But, like, I don't hate red, and I don't hate red being a supporting color either. It's got some nice pieces of removal. It does a lot, but I don't think there's any... Like, maybe you could make Carvus work as your primary... If you're, like, mainly red and then you have a second color, you could make Carvus work. But, like, for the artifacts, you're primarily blue with red. For the tapped creatures, you're probably primarily white with red. For the sacrifice, you're probably primarily black with red, and void, you're probably primarily black with red. I think red is just kind of supporting multiple mechanics. If green has a bunch of landfall stuff as well, then the lander thing, or lander tokens itself, then red is also supporting green with all of its lander token mechanics, right? So I feel like red is very much the supporting color, but I don't hate that. Like, red can do multiple. There are some good red cards in there. Like, obviously, there's the red legendary guy who's completely insane, but apart from that, it seems like a lot of supporting stuff.